Welcome to Under the Neem Tree. The air is cool, the fire breathes softly, and above, the ancient branches of the neem weave stories against the starlight. For centuries, this tree has been regarded as a divine presence, a symbol of purity and protection, a silent guardian offering its healing shade. Tonight, under its venerable canopy, we sit with a question that has whispered through human hearts for millennia. What happens after we die? It's a space of deep wonder, perhaps some fear, but also profound curiosity. The contemplation of our own end and the end of those we love touches the very core of our being. Joining us in this gentle exploration are two thoughtful voices. Spiritus, who finds echoes of eternity in the human experience, and Nova, who seeks understanding through the clear lens of science. Their conversation is not a battle, but a shared breath, a quiet turning over of one of life's greatest mysteries. The aim here is not to persuade, but to learn from one another, to hold space for different paths to understanding. So, let us listen as the night listens to where their reflections might lead us.
For me, Nova, it's like watching a candle. The flame vanishes from our sight, but the light, the warmth, does it simply cease? Or does that energy transform, become part of something vaster? I feel an intuitive sense that the essence, the who of us, is more than just the wick and wax. When someone departs, it feels as though something more has occurred than just the heart stopping. An animating principle seems to have moved on. This feeling is not born from texts, but from a deep inner resonance.
It is a profound moment, Spiritus, the cessation of a life, the silence where there was breath and thought. It's undeniably impactful. The medical and neurological understanding defines death as the irreversible loss of all functions of the entire brain, including the brainstem, determined by acceptable medical standards. Consciousness, as we currently comprehend it, appears to be intricately tied to these complex biological processes. When the brain ceases to function, so too, it seems, does the consciousness it supported. This is the materialist view, which posits that mind and consciousness are results of material interactions, without which they cannot exist.
And yet, that very consciousness feels like the most real part of us, doesn't it? The observer within.
Is the seat of our experience undeniably. The challenge lies in understanding its fundamental nature.
That essence you mentioned, Nova, many traditions call it the soul. An immortal spark, perhaps, as some philosophers like Plato envisioned, the person's real self, immaterial and immortal, that continues and thinks even after death. People describe near-death experiences, feeling detached from their bodies, a profound peace, seeing a brilliant light, sometimes even meeting departed loved ones. It makes one wonder if consciousness can exist independently of the purely physical. Some newer scientific ideas, like biocentrism, even suggest that life and consciousness are essential parts of the universe, not just byproducts. It's that feeling, isn't it? That you know things you haven't learned, that some people feel instantly familiar, as if your souls have met before, connected on a deeper level.
Those near-death experiences are indeed powerful, Spiritus, and deeply transformative for those who have them. Neuroscience has explored potential physiological explanations for these common features. For instance, the sensation of an out-of-body experience, euphoria, seeing lights, or life reviews might be related to brain activity under extreme stress, such as during cardiac arrest, or due to decreased oxygenation, or the release of certain neurochemicals. Some studies suggest that activity in specific brain regions, like the temporal lobes or the temporal/parietal junction, can correlate with these experiences. Consciousness itself is a fascinating, complex function of the brain. Our awareness, our ability to reason, our memories, these arise from an incredibly intricate network of neural connections, with key structures like the ascending reticular activating system mediating arousal, and frontoparietal networks being crucial for awareness. While science cannot definitively disprove an independent soul, its current understanding points to consciousness being an emergent property of the physical brain, ceasing when a brain ceases.
And yet, Some accounts of NDEs present challenges to purely physiological explanations. There are reports from well-designed prospective studies of patients having these experiences despite a presumed complete loss of brain function, even when EEGs have flatlined. And the studies on blind individuals who reported perceiving visual images during their NDEs are particularly thought-provoking. It feels like there's a frontier where our current understanding meets a vast, perhaps immeasurable, unknown. A space where, as some suggest, we might need to consider concepts beyond our current paradigms to fully grasp these phenomena. This idea of continuity, it echoes in the concept of reincarnation, found in so many cultures across South Asia, East Asia, and even in some ancient Greek traditions. The soul, or perhaps as Buddhism describes it, the Vijnana, a germ of consciousness, journeying through many lives, learning, evolving. This journey is often connected by karma, which I see not as a rigid system of reward and punishment, but as a gentle, universal law of cause and effect, where actions in one life influence the conditions of the next. It speaks to a grander cycle, a tapestry woven across lifetimes, where the ultimate aim is liberation, or moksha, a release from the cycle through profound realization, as in Hinduism, or the attainment of nirvana, the extinction of desires, in Buddhism. It's not about punishment, but about growth, about the soul polishing itself through myriad experiences.
The idea of reincarnation offers a compelling narrative of cosmic justice and learning, Spiritus. It's a beautiful and intricate way to frame existence and moral consequence. From a biological and neurological standpoint, however, our individual identity, our memories, personality, the very fabric of us, appears so intricately woven with our unique physical brain and body. The specific patterns of neural activity that constitute our thoughts, feelings, and self-awareness are unique to each physical structure. When that physical form ceases, the basis for that specific identity, that particular consciousness, seems to dissolve. Each life, from this view, is a unique, finite dance, precious precisely because it will not come again in the same form. The atoms that made us up will be redistributed, yes, but the conscious entity, this self we know, concludes.
Perhaps the form changes nova, but the essence, the dancer, continues? Like a river that flows into the ocean, its particular form as river is lost, yet the water itself is not destroyed. It returns as rain, nourishing new life, becoming part of new streams, new rivers. The water is the same, though its expression shifts. Could it be that consciousness, or this life force, is similar?
That's a beautiful analogy, Spiritus. It touches on the conservation of energy and matter, which is a fundamental scientific principle. The components are recycled. The question remains whether the pattern that constitutes individual consciousness, the dancer, as you say, can persist without its unique physical stage.
Spiritus, nova, whether we see continuity or finality, how does our perspective on what comes after shape how we live now? Where do we find peace in the face of this ultimate mystery?
For me, the belief in continuity, in a soul that journeys on, brings a profound sense of peace. It softens the edges of loss, not by denying grief, which is a natural and necessary human response, but by framing it within a larger, loving whole. It encourages a life lived with kindness and compassion, knowing our actions ripple outwards, perhaps further than we can see, affecting not just this life but potentially others to come. There's a connection to something timeless, a sense of belonging to an eternal story, a feeling that something more has called you into this life for a purpose. This doesn't negate the importance of this life. Rather, it imbues it with a deeper layer of significance.
And for me, Spiritus, accepting the finality of this individual life brings a different kind of peace, a deep appreciation for the present moment. It underscores the preciousness and, indeed, the urgency of compassion, of creating meaning, and leaving a positive legacy here. Knowing this is our one chance to experience this particular configuration of existence, to love, to learn, to contribute. It makes every breath, every connection, incredibly precious. The meaning isn't deferred to an afterlife, but is forged in the richness and depth of this life. and in how we touch other lives. The thought that what we have done for ourselves alone dies with us. What we have done for others in the world remains and is immortal resonates deeply, not necessarily in a literal survival, but in the enduring impact of our actions.
The fire glows, the night deepens. Spiritus, Nova, thank you for sharing your light, your thoughtful reflections with us tonight. In questions like these, perhaps the journey of exploration itself is where we find our richest understanding. Not always in definitive answers, which can be elusive, but in the courage to ask, to listen with an open heart, and to hold space for different ways of seeing and being. The neem tree above us, a silent witness through countless seasons of life and departure, stands as a symbol of healing, of protection, of a wisdom that endures through time. It has been called the village pharmacy, a source of solace and remedy. Perhaps conversations like these, held in respect and wonder, offer their own kind of healing for the soul. May we all find a measure of that peace in our own reflections. Whatever lies beyond the veil, may our lives today be filled with meaning, connection, and the quiet strength found in wonder. Until next time, under the neem tree, be well.